Nothing, nothing. Microphone, Javier's microphone, no funciona. No, no, like there's no point. You can't begin until it starts. Is there a red light or anything? Oh, there's a green light. Okay, su micro no funciona. Okay, here comes the improvised task. Okay, now is that working? No, still not. Okay. Oh God. It's like,
Hello?
brilliant.
There you go.
Okay, very good. Right then, so overcoming the hurdles to success, an early stage startup VC perspective. Fireside chat with Ben Morel. Say hello, Ben.
Hey.
And with Javier Sanz. Say hello, Javier.
Hi there.
Okay, big round of applause, please, for Ben and Javier. Yay! Okay, right,
So
guys.
thank you everyone for being here this morning. We're going to try to make it sharp and interesting to you guys. So I'll leave it to Javier to just, introduce himself. I'll tell you more about myself and then we'll kick it off.
So I'm Javier, I'm the CEO of 99. We are a free commission online broker so that you can trade stocks, commission free. It's going to be available in Europe and coming soon to other countries outside Europe.
And I'm Ben. I'm one of the founders of Briga, which is a founders fund. I've been an entrepreneur for more than 10 years now. Now turned to the other side and financing early stage companies across Europe with my experience and background and trying to make them the next unicorns of the continent. Just in a quick chat, when you launch a company, early days, there are two major resources you fight for. One is funding, the other one is talent. Because obviously if you want to build an amazing company and attract clients ultimately to pay for it, that's what you require. So funding is complicated and you need to get to certain stages and understand the differences between business angels and VCs, and even in the VC space, there's a lot of different, stereotypes. Like, you have the very early stage people who are able to sign checks on pre-revenue projects, and then you have the sort of people who are a bit bigger and do sort of later stage stuff. The very American way of looking at it is like, seed, Series A, Series B, Series C, Series D. It's just a matter of counting the different rounds, right? And it's interesting because usually, at the very beginning, you don't have much. It's that you and your team members, maybe your co-founders, trying to get money to launch something. And usually people you get to is, business angels, because, these people usually invest their own money, they make their own decisions, they don't have investment committee, and they can sign checks on pretty much anything, whether it's a pizza chain or a fintech company like Javier's, right? On the other end of the spectrum, when you try to convince VC, well, they're professionals, so they do that on a day-to-day job, and they have someone else's money. They usually put a lot of theirs, and I can tell I put a lot of mine and my partners in the fund, but it's still a bit of more of a different process, and therefore usually comes at a point where you have a bit more traction. So that's usually the sort of difference, although you sometimes see business angel participating into VC rounds and vice versa. You have some VC funds that do very early stage stuff, pre-seed as we call it, and we are one of them. We are one of them as we invest pre-revenue, pre-launch, and that's what we did with 99 and Javier. So Javier, if you want to give the crowd an idea of how the funding worked for you guys.
Well, so in terms of our funding, we've raised so far as a seed 4 million. So raising 4 million at a seed, it's pretty complicated. So it's impossible to go to a fund, to go to Briga and ask them for 4 million if you have nothing. So the way that I like to structure the round is normally it takes around 6 months to raise a round, no matter in what stage you are. And I like to focus for the first 4 months on what the fund is looking for. So if I'm raising now a 15 million Series A, what I start to think about in my head is what is the fund want to see at this stage. So they are going to look for a health communication. They are going to look for those KPIs. So I spend the first 4 months focusing on those KPIs, and when I have the metrics, the stuff that the fund is looking for in the terms of the seed was I have the broker dealer license, I have the people in place. Once I have everything, then I go to the fund and ask them for the money. But if you go on this right race when you start raising money with nothing, just with a PowerPoint, that's an impossible way of doing things. So just first focus for the first 3-4 months on getting stuff done, and then show the metrics, because you're going to raise way more money, and you're going to raise it at a way more money valuation, which is going to attract more people to your company, and it's going to be better for you.
And what do you think about, very early days? Obviously, you don't have much, at the beginning. It's just you and maybe some team members. How do you attract your first business angel?
Well, so there's going to be a lot of no's down the line, but you just need to convince one people. So this is a saying that I have, which is if you shoot to the stars, you get to the moon. So, for example, I tried to convince the head of Banco Santander in Latam, who was my first lead investor, and by bringing him on board, it was pretty easy to raise the 4 millions because he tracked a lot of people. So it's a lot about bringing confidence to the table, try to attract someone who trusts in you, and then he will bring on board a lot of business angels and fans who have not trusted you at the beginning because you don't have this big name, and also through the process is going to help you. So try to bring someone who brings value to the table, not only on the funding side, but on getting the connection, and someone who is related to your sector.
And maybe to get into the details, so technically, how do you do? Like, how do you get in touch with people? How do you connect? You do introductions. How do you convince that first person? How's the trick?
Well, I think that the trick is a lot of all-nighters, working really hard, bringing great partners to the table, great employees, with partners that are going to work with you, and then you happen to start talking to people, go to these kind of events, at least when you are at the beginning of your startup stage, try talking to everyone that you can, and then finally you see that the dots start to connect, and then finally you somehow, in a matter of 2 weeks, see that everything the dots start to connect, and you rise 4 million or something like that in a matter of 2 weeks. But it's a lot of hard work and a lot of pains, a lot of no's at the beginning.
Okay, got it. Yeah, I think it's a good point. I think in the very early days, you have to be a salesman or saleswoman. I have to be the salesperson. That's what it is. And keep in mind that as an entrepreneur, that's what you're gonna do the whole life of your company, because you're selling your product to clients, you're selling your equity to investors, you're selling your project to talent, and that's what you have to do. So work hard and try to be able to convince these first people, and then it's like a domino race. Like you tick the first one, and then the rest will come. And talking about talent, then once you've secured a bit of money, you have your co-founders, your 2 or 3 people, you have a bit of cash, you need to execute, and usually you need to execute with people. How do you source the best ones? How did it work for you?
Okay, well, so this has been a process because this is my third startup, and when I first started, I thought about keeping as much equity as I could, and not hiring the best people. So it's all about people. So for example, we are a broker which haven't even go live, and we are bringing on board the head of communications of Netflix, who is coming to join us, and with only 4 million in the bank. So you have to be a salesman. You need to sell an idea. You need to sell a vision, and then people who are really great will surround you. But if you go with the lean model of, well, I don't have the money, I don't have the funding yet, I just gonna hire a crappy guy who is gonna do my social media, and I'm gonna pay him, I'm not gonna pay him, that's not gonna work. So if you want to build a really big business, it's about shooting to the stars, talking to the best as you could. You need to talk to 100 or 300 people to bring just one on board. And it's just about being a salesman and being persistent, and no's are just no's. You just need to find a yes.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. I think ultimately it's obviously a numbers game. So it's a numbers game with business angels, it's a numbers game with VCs, and it's a numbers game with talent. You just have to be organized, and it's a pure process. You need to know exactly what you're looking for, what the person in front of you is looking for, sort of try to nail down that sort of funnel into what's my next stage with these people, whether it's funding or recruiting, but get to the point of getting the best talent, because ultimately, especially nowadays, if you look at tech compared to what it was a few years ago, you had a lot of assets in terms of being, buying machines, computers, everything was very expensive. Like you have cloud, you have printing, 3D printing, even for hardware is getting easier and easier. So the one piece of asset and talent you recruit at the beginning is definitely the people surrounding you, and they have to be the best. So I usually ask to a lot of founders, is your CTO who Was your friend at school when you were 5 the best person to execute the project, or is it just your friend? Which is fair enough, but like, is it the best outcome if you want to play the VC game? Because once again, that's one of the big thing you need to keep in mind. I think the VC game is one game. It's not the only one. I know raising money has been very fashionable lately, and a lot of people are around. Well, it's great, it's cool. I've raised 5, I've raised 10, I've raised 20, 50, 100. Ultimately, it's like hiking the Everest Mount. Like every base camp, everything after that is harder than before. So you need to make sure that when you raise money, you execute the vision that you sold for, and the reason why people invest in money in your company, and that the talent you attracted in the company for the project as well is a race, and a race is always hard, and especially when you're fighting against the world, because everyone else, the Chinese, the Americans, the big corporates, are going to try to kill you somehow. So it's a bit of a struggle, and once you play that game, it's obviously fascinating, thrilling, but complicated. What would be your couple of tricks or couple of ideas you would share with the crowd?
Well, so I think that it's not only about attracting people, but also taking care of the people that have joined it, retaining the talent. Because if you focus on bringing a really great guy, and then he leaves you in a matter of a month, then the entrepreneurship is really close, and everyone is going to know that you are not a good guy to work with in a matter of months. So you need to build a reputation, take care of the people, and learn from them. So if you finally get to hire a really good guy, you need to leave him the space. For example, this Tuesday is going to join us the CEO of Alantra, which is the biggest investment bank in Spain. He's 55 years old, 35 years of experience in the financial markets. I'm 27, never worked before on the financial markets. So there's no way I'm going to teach him what to do. So what I need to give him is the confidence to build the product. Try to find someone who has already gone through the path that we are going ahead for the next 18 months, and then leave them to execute our vision, because I need to set the strategy and get the funding. But with my funding and my vision, I need to leave them do their work, which is just growing the company and bringing more talent. Because it's not my tip is, if you care about your people, then the people of your team are going to bring better people. So it's just a matter of starting the wheel.
Okay. And how many of the early days people are still left in the company?
I think that of a team of 25, around 6 people have left us.
Okay.
Half of them were fired, and the other half left the company because there's a lot of competition. And it's about retention, because there are other players rising rounds of 50 million, 100 million, and it's not only about the money. It's not only about giving you the stock options or phantom shares. It's about trying to retain them. And also, people who are really good love to work on projects who are ambitious. So it's not only about the money or the phantom shares that you give them, but sell them a vision and then maintain to that vision. Because if you are switching directions every once in a while, people are going to left. So stick to your vision, and obviously make some changes where you need to make them, but set a really huge goal, which is going to bring a lot of talent to the table.
Okay, thanks for that. So maybe as a wrap up, is there any other piece of advice you want to give to the crowd in terms of the key challenges you face when you're an early stage company and how you face them?
Well, my suggestion is that try to surround with people that you trust, because there are going to be a lot of highs, but at the beginning, on the early stages, there are going to be a lot of lows. This is my third time that I started a project, but every time that you start a new project, you are learning new things. So try to surround with people that you trust, who are going to continue you, who are going to follow you on your path, and then follow your gut and make changes. So don't fall in love with your idea. Make some changes where you need to make them, and follow your passion if it's entrepreneurship. And also, if you find a time that you don't find yourself that you are a great CEO, because through the stages of the company, you're going to see that the mission of the founder, it's at the beginning you're going to do everything, and once you grow, you're going to just start focusing on the funding, on the people, on the strategy. Maybe you are not the great or the guy who is the CEO. Like, it's not bad about hiring a COO or hiring someone who's better to you to grow the company if you don't find yourself who are the best to continue at the early stage.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for that. Maybe as a final word, I think you got the idea. A, be a salesperson. Be resilient but not stubborn. So follow your gut, but don't follow them too much. And C, obviously, build something with a vision that it's above yourself and bigger than yourself. And it's ultimately you're building a new baby. Some usually people say my company is my baby. Well, if it's a baby, the baby should become bigger than yourself. So as you said, if you're not the right person to be the CEO, the CTO, or whoever in the future, make the vision happen and hopefully change the world if you can. Thank you very much.
Thank you.